And we are back. What's going on, everybody? UCF Jaguar coming at you guys from GenJag.com, and a week of training camp is in the books, and there is a lot of things I want to discuss. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing I want to discuss is Blake Bortles. So after the very first padded practice last Saturday, Twitter basically broke as Blake Bortles threw 5 interceptions on the day and just did not have a very good practice. And there were people that hit me up on Twitter. There were people all over commenting on my videos, asking me what the heck I think of this. Now, with me, my initial reaction was, okay, it was a practice. Let's kind of see how he responds to this. Now, when something like this happens, it's obviously not a good thing. You don't want to hear about your starting quarterback having this kind of practice, but I wanted to wait to really make judgment because I wanted to see how he responded, and I just wanted to see a bigger sample size of, the different kind of practices that he's been having. But he followed that up with probably one of his best practices of training camp that Monday. A lot of people were saying that was one of his best practices that they've ever seen him had, and ever since that 5 interception practice that he had, he hasn't even thrown any picks. Now, if it wasn't for that one practice, Blake Bortles would probably be having his best training camp so far. I mean, as far as I've heard, his mechanics have been holding up pretty well. He's been making some great connections with Allen Robinson and just making a lot of other good deep passes. So that's definitely something you like to hear. But with my viewpoint on the whole Blake Bortles situation, I'm gonna wait to judge him until the regular season actually starts. Like any kind of success that he has this offseason, even in the preseason, I'm gonna wait the whole judgment on really getting too excited about him. But if he were to go out and have a bunch of bad practices and have a bad preseason, then I would start getting a little concerned, and then I would start making a little bit more judgment on him. But when I look back at that one practice, I mean, it was one practice. Players have bad practices sometimes. I mean, there's probably plenty of players other than Blake Bortles that have gone through bad practices that, obviously aren't talked about as much. But obviously it shouldn't, just because Blake Bortles is the quarterback. But there's just a lot of people that already have their judgment on Blake Bortles, so they're automatically going to just hate to hear him play bad. But the thing that is more concerning than the whole Blake Bortles situation in my eyes is the fact that Brandon Albert decided to retire. This absolutely freaking sucks. I mean, I had pretty much penciled him in as a starting left tackle, and as all you guys know, I really wanted Cam Robinson to play left guard. But with this whole thing happening, you look back at our offseason, you say, how do we get better at the offensive line? Really, the only offensive line free agents that we signed was Earl Watford. And then, obviously, we drafted Cam Robinson with the 2nd round pick. Now Cam Robinson is going to be elevated to that starting left tackle spot. And our offensive line was not very good last year. And Brandon Albert retiring sucks. It absolutely sucks. We had that signing, and it gave us the flexibility to not go after, any left tackles in free agency. And after making that trade, he was going to make $8 or $9 million this year, which would have put him at one of the top 5 paid players on the team. And as we all know, we were in that Kevin Zeitler sweepstakes, but we decided to step out of that. And now it kind of sucks, man. We are going to be left with a rookie starting at left tackle. And, in my eyes, I really don't expect too much out of rookies. I expect a lot out of Leonard Fournette just because he is a running back, and running backs don't take that much transition between college and NFL. But we have Cam Robinson starting, and obviously week 1 we play against a very tough Houston defensive line with J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless and stuff like that. So luckily with Cam Robinson, he has a very good track record. I mean, he came out of high school as a 5-star prospect. Immediately started at Alabama as a freshman, which really, in college, you rarely ever start true freshmen. And he started on Alabama, which is obviously so rich of NFL talent. He started every single game, never got injured in his career, started every single game. and now he's obviously a Jaguar. Cam Robinson has done a lot of good things. The biggest knock on him is how he generally tends to play down to his competition. I mean, he played great against players like Myles Garrett and Derek Barnett, both top 15 draft picks, but generally when he sometimes would play down to his competition, which obviously comes down to you got to coach him harder. You got to kind of get him motivated in that way. But man, Cam Robinson going to have to grow up quick. And then obviously our left guard spot leaves a huge kind of hole there. I mean, right now it seems like the front runners are either Tyler Shatley or Patrick Omameh, but we could also maybe look for a guy like Luke Bowenko to potentially compete at that spot. But man, not very confident in this offensive line, man. It's really just a crappy situation right now. But hopefully we have obviously Doug Marrone, who was an offensive line coach. We have a very good offensive line coach and Matt, I forget his name, Pat McAfee or something like that. He's a very good coach. He coached alongside of Tom Coughlin out at New York, and obviously Tom Coughlin's in the building. He's not going to be doing much coaching, but he does have that. He has built some good offensive lines, so at least we kind of have that head inside of the building. Now, a lot of you are probably going to comment on my video asking me, what do you think we should do at the offensive line? How should we upgrade that left guard spot? But there's really nothing out there, guys. I mean, I think we are a team that has good depth on our team, but we just lack that top-end talent. We don't have that Laramie Tunsil type player. We don't have those, really elite kind of offensive linemen, and those kind of guys don't grow out on trees, so we're just going to have to stick with what we have. But I want to touch on some other things that I have liked around the preseason. First of all, our wide receiving core has apparently been playing pretty lights out, especially at the top end of that with Al Robinson. He's been making a lot of crazy good grabs. He noted that he's been working on his physicality a lot this offseason, which is good because he had trouble getting out of press coverage last year, and just dealing with the double team and just kind of getting separation. So it's good that he's really working on that game. And obviously he's coming into a contract year, so any player wants to get paid. And also Marquise Lee and Allen Hurns, I've heard a lot of good things on. Apparently Bortles has been connecting on a lot of deep balls, which has been really good. And also D.D. Westbrook, he's flashed a lot of good of that, quick twitch kind of stuff. Apparently when punt and kick returner going out there, he's like the most elusive player. And he might be able to just pretty much knock off Rashad Green off the, roster if he continues to show that he can be our punt returner. But also undrafted rookie Keenan Cole has also been turning some heads. I've been hearing some good things out of him. He has a chance to potentially make this roster, but unfortunately for him, it's a really deep wide receiving class. Back in 2014 when Allen Hurns was undrafted free agent, there was a lot less competition at that spot. So he definitely has an uphill battle, but maybe he can sign on to the practice squad. But moving back to the running back position, Leonard Fournette has been, doing pretty much everything that they've expected him to be. But one thing I want to note with him is he's been doing very good, I guess, he's been showcasing his pass catching ability a lot of times. Now, a lot of scouts coming into the NFL draft thought that, his hands and stuff like that were a big knock on him. But the thing was, at LSU, he really didn't get a chance to. They really didn't throw him the ball much. They just kind of turned around and handed off the ball to him a lot. And, Leonard Fournette is a guy that I would love to see catching the ball, because if you give this man some space, he will bowl over some people. So I'm very excited to see, Leonard Fournette progress. It sucks how this offensive line is now weaker, though, for him. Brandon Albert was a good run blocking kind of lineman, but we'll move on from that for now. But I'm going to go back to the line on the defense and talk about Myles Jack a little bit. Now, Myles Jack, as expected, has, been going, kind of transitioning into that middle linebacker spot. It's a really hard spot to learn because you're the quarterback of the defense, you're lining everybody up, you're making all the calls, and Myles Jack has to learn how to line other people up when he's playing a completely new position himself. I mean, he has to know where the hell he's going to line up. And there's even been, I've even heard that Paul Posluszny has, shifted around and, telling him where to go a little bit. So It's good to have Paul Posluszny on the field with him. I'm sure Telvin Smith is kind of annoyed by the whole thing just because, Paul used to tell him where to go. But Miles Jack obviously has a very high ceiling, and I'm really excited to see what he has. Now, next week's going to be a big week with him going out to New England to practice against the Patriots. So that'll be a good time for him to learn a new defense. I believe they play a 3-4 defense over there, so it's a whole new look from our 4-3 defense. And next up, I also want to talk about A.J. Bouye. Now, this was a free agent signing that pretty much had like the biggest kind of free agent bust potential, just because A.J. Bouye pretty much got signed after having that one really good year out in Houston. But all words coming out is that he's been playing fantastic. He's been really blanketing receivers, causing a lot of like pass breakups and stuff like that. And it seems like he's everything that the Jaguars were expecting to get out of. A.J. Bouye, he's a very smart dude, very self-motivated, wants to be the best. I mean, if you listen to him in his press conference, he just seems like a player that's not really going to let that money get to his head. And also I want to touch on Dante Fowler Jr. Now, he's been impressing a lot in camp, showing a lot of good things. We'll see what happens with him next week against the Patriots, because I remember last year when I was going to the training camps, I saw Dante Fowler and I was like, this guy is going to be a double-digit sack guy. He was just kind of crazy out there, but then once he went against tougher offensive line competition with Tampa, the dude kind of disappeared. So, we've heard this same story before with Dante Fowler. We'll see what he does when, he plays different competition. I haven't seen him personally, so I'd really like to see kind of what his pass rushing technique has been, but I'll figure that out once I start watching the film, once the preseason starts. And also when it comes to injury, it's such a scary time of year right now with like the preseason and training camp period, because all over the NFL there's players getting injured. I mean, if you look over at the Los Angeles Chargers, they have their first-round pick who might be out for the whole year, and today they had their second-round pick, Forrest Lamp, get carted off. Over in New York, Sterling Shepard got injured, and over in the Houston Texans, Will Fuller broke his collarbone. So it's just so scary. You really hope nothing happens to your own players, but luckily right now we have we have 3 players on the PUP list with Aaron Colvin, Jalen Ramsey, and Marquez Williams, and the only injury of note that's actually lasted a couple days is Calais Campbell, but I guess he has like kind of a lower body injury. But all words with him is that it's more precautionary. It's nothing too intense. I mean, he's walking around at practices and stuff like that. So, he's a player that you can almost put in bubble wrap until the season starts. I mean, he's been playing in the NFL for so long, and that's not really a player that I'm worried about. But let's just pray that we don't get any hard injuries, because I hate injuries, and I just don't want to start a player going down. But the last thing I want to talk about Doug Marrone a little bit. Now, when he first got hired, it really wasn't a very popular hiring amongst Jaguar fans, just because they wanted a new guy in there, just clean house. They don't want anybody that was on the old regime back in there. But Doug Marrone, man, this guy is exactly what this team needed. He came in, he's always talking about winning. He comes in talking about wanting to bring in like a physical kind of team, a hard-nosed team, a tough team, a disciplined team. And what does he do? He goes out and has extremely tough training camp practices. They're doing the intensity's way up from Gus Bradley. They're running more plays in 7-on-7 and 11-on-11s. It's making the most of that time. And not only is this dude tough on the players, he's also tough on the assistant coaches and just holding every single person accountable all over the field. So, man, Doug Marrone, he's exactly what this team needed. I really love his personality just in press conferences. He just seems like a cool dude, and really this is what we needed. We needed that hard-nosed kind of coach, and he's just really starting to bring some fire and energy to this young team. But with all that said, that's all I got for now. A quick announcement. Next week, I'm going to be doing a live pregame show before the Jaguars play the first preseason game against the Patriots. So definitely come join that. I'm going to be very interactive with the live chat, and I want to be able to interact with you guys, talk to you guys, answer y'all's questions, and it will be a lot of fun, hopefully. And that's something I want to, I want to start doing pregame shows for all the away games during the regular season, just because I'm always bored as shit before the game start. I'm always just pacing around till 1 o'clock, so might as well go live, and I can entertain y'all, we can entertain each other, and it'll be fun that way. But yeah, with all that said, this is UCF Jaguar coming at you guys from GenJag.com, and I'm out.